Hi, this video is for question 4 of the Leaving Cert Order Level, paper 2 from 2021. As always, if you want a copy of the set notes I'm working off, just send me an email at shanetry@gmail.com. And if you like this video, just click the subscribe button to get access to more playlists. So, on first impressions, this question here is about quarter geometry, the hints in the name. But specifically, it looks like it's going to be a circle question. I see here they just mentioned a circle. So let's get stuck into it, okay? There's 3 parts to part A here, and they're all worth 5 marks each. So the whole part A is worth 15 marks. So it says the coordinate diagram below shows 2 points, A and B. So you have your y-axis here in the vertical, and your x-axis here in the horizontal. Or in science speak, this would be the independent axis and a dependent axis. So from a science point of view, what you're changing, okay, you're controlling this versus what you're measuring, okay. Now we can call it x and y for simplicity, but there's loads of other names depending on the context. Now you have point A here, which is 6 on the x, 2 on the y, and then we have another one down here, which is -2 on the x, -4 on the y. Now let's get stuck in. See here, this is the origin, 0, 0, and don't see anything else that's of great use. Part A, part 1 then says, write down the coordinates of A and B. Now we have it done, okay, but I can fill them into the spaces just so the examiner can't miss it, okay, and make sure I have the right signs. And that's it. So then the second part says, find the coordinates of the midpoint of AB. Now I'm going to draw it here. That's rough. I'm terrible at drawing lines. Obviously, if you had a ruler, it was better go with it. So look, halfway is what I call it as being that, because it's a round number. Okay. So let's see if we get in and around 2 on the x, -1 on the y. Okay. I'm going to clear off that just for later on. And the formula for midpoint, okay, it's in the maths tables, getting the average of the x's and the average of the y's. Now I have 2 points up top here. I'm going to call the first one I see the first x, first y, the second x, second y. So right now it's just a matter of subbing the values in. So instead of x1 I put 6 plus x2 is -2. I'm going to put that in brackets over 2. And the y1 value is 2 plus the y2 value is -4. Now all that really happens now is if I'm going to keep it simple, the plus by minus is going to change that to a minus. Okay, now I can do that in the video here. So plus by minus is minus. Over here, plus by minus will change that to minus. Okay, I'm actually wrong there. -4. Okay. Then going left right again. In a sense, I should have done that separate line. I hope that hasn't been confusing. 6 take away 2 is 4. Okay, and then on the top here, 2 take away 4 is -2. Now I could go faster, okay, but I want to be clear what I'm doing. I'm just doing the top part of each fraction there. And then the final bit, I can simplify that. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and negative divided by a positive is a negative answer. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So my answer is roughly what we said, is 2, -1. Okay, now I'm going to put that in there on the +2, -1. And that's that. And the next thing says use a compass, so make sure you have all the things from a math set. You need the rulers potentially for constructions to construct the circle C, which has AB as its diameter on the diagram. So between A and B is the diameter, so between A and the 2, -1, the midpoint is the radius. So if I put my compass point here and measure it out here as far as the A, and just make sure to be careful and draw a circle the whole way through. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the next page because if I can't draw a straight line, I can't draw a bloody circle. And that's, I suppose, a perfect image of it. And that's the different answers we have from part A. So part A done, so 15 marks hopefully in the bag. And again, not an overly taxing, other than just being careful to read the question, and then you should be good to go. At least to get the attempt marks. Okay. Remember, with a coordinate, it's always x first and y second. Now, then the second part here, sorry, fourth part, but whatever. says find the length of the radius of the circle C and hence write down the equation of Z. So look, on the first side we have a circle, okay, and it has a diameter. I could get the length between the 2 points we were given, okay, whatever they were, and then have it. Or I could use the midpoint value and just directly calculate the answer. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you're consistent, okay? So I remember one of the points was 2, -1. That was the midpoint, so I'm going to use that. I might have used a different one in the notes. I'm going to flick back, and our other one was 6, 2, okay? Now here's a good time to illustrate this. Let's say both of those answers were actually wrong. If I've declared them as my answer to previous parts, and I use them here, even though they're technically wrong, now these ones aren't, but if they were, then I would get full marks, because you can't be penalised for the answer to a previous part. Now it's awkward as an examiner, because you have to kind of work through the question, and you can't just fall back on the marking scheme. But that's just the nature of the job. So I have the 2 points I'm going to use, okay, I'm going to call that first x, first y, second x, second y. Now the distance formula is basically a rehash of Pythagoras. Okay, so the difference in the x's squared plus the difference in the y's squared. Okay. Now if you recall, Pythagoras is h squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. Actually, I should change that to a c. Nobody uses h anymore. And then if I want to bring the square, I can bring it across and square roots everything on the far side, and I end up with this formula here, which if you see is fairly like the distance formula. The only difference is the a value is the difference in the x's, the b value is the difference in the y's. So the distance formula here has been adapted for use with coordinates, which is what I have. So the big square root, okay, I'm going to be filling in the brackets there. So x2, the question we identified that as 6, take, now x1 is 2, they're both positive, so they can go in without brackets, no problem. y2 is 2, take away, now here we have a negative number, so I'm going to put that in the brackets, and we have a negative times -1. Now what's going to happen here? Okay, I'm going to do inside the brackets first, so 6 take 2 is 4. Now 2 take away -1, okay, is the same thing as 2 plus 1, which is the same thing as 3. Now I should keep my left hand side consistent. And then I can go and just do the powers. So 4 squared means 4 by 4, which is 16, plus 3 squared means 3 times 3, which is 9. And we keep going. I'm going to do under the square root again, just do the addition. 16 plus 5, so 9 is 25. And then apply the square root. The square root of 25 is 5. I don't know what the units are, I don't think, so I'm going to put in the word units just to cover myself. Now, that was the radius of the circle C. And then we have to go ahead and put in the equation of circle C. So clear some space for me. Now, obviously, I can rub things out here. You can't. So before you do a question, try to organize your work as much as you possibly can, without sacrificing, accuracy for cleanness, if you get me, tidiness. So the formula here for x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Now, apologies again for my bad writing. I'm going to replace that with a h. Now that's given in the maths tables. Okay. So in this now, the center of the circle is the hk. Now I know the center of the circle is the midpoint. So that gives my h and that gives my k. I know it's different than xy, but it's just specific to circles. So once I've done that, okay, I can put in instead of h, I put 2. And then instead of k, I put -1. Okay, I'm going to put it in the brackets because that sign is going to change. Instead of r, I worked it out to be 5, so 5 squared. Now, if I did my answer like that, I'm not going to get full marks. Okay, for some reason, they want the 5 squared to be converted to its number. Okay, I don't quite get it because 5 squared is 25, but there might be a reason I'm just not aware of. So that's 25. Okay, I should rewrite it. Okay, and then the minus by a minus here changes to a plus. So let's rewrite our question: x minus 2 squared plus y minus by minus is a +1, and that's squared. is equal to set 5 squared is 25. And that's my perfect answer. Okay. So the two parts, if you got just the radius, I think for a chord you got 3 marks, and then for the get in the circle, you get the 5. Okay, so it's not a huge chunk of marks considering the amount of work to be done, but it's a bog standard circle question in one sense. Okay, if just watching out for those small little things like making sure you square the radius. Okay, so in the answer here from the notes, we have it done out here. I have the distance formula, and I found the radius. Okay, now I took the 2 points either end of the circle, the diameter. So I found the diameter, divided by 2 to find the radius. Then the far side I used the equation of a circle, substituted in my midpoint, okay, which is the center of the circle, and the radius, and I got my answer here, and just pointed out down the bottom to make sure you square. And that's it. Okay, now here's one last part here. Yeah, so the point P, and they're saying P is got the coordinates 2k. So I'm going to put down here 2k. I won't get mastered in that, but it's in the first quadrant. Now, if I was just trying to figure out what's going on here, this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So if my point is in here, both x and y are positive. In this case, 2 and k are both positive, right? And they tell me the point is on C. Now there's something going on here. If a point is on a circle, okay, when you sub it in, you should get left side equals right side. If it's outside the circle, okay, and you sub the point in, you should get left side is greater than right side. If it's inside the circle, you should get left side being less than right side. Okay. Now, this one says it's on C, so we should be satisfying this criteria. It says use algebra to find the value of k and plot the point P on the diagram on the previous page. So I need to find my answer here. So it's x minus 2 squared. So x minus 2 squared plus y, I've forgotten already, y plus 1 squared is equal to 25. So again, if it's on the circle, my point 2k should create the situation left equals right. Now we can obviously see what's going to happen here. So instead of the x here, I'm going to put 2. Instead of the y here, I'm going to put k. That's all done. Substitute the x for 2 and the y for k. Now once I've done that, I have an equation of one unknown, so this is solvable. It's just a matter of going ahead and do it. Go left to right here, I can go do inside brackets first, so 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, that's to be squared. Now k plus 1 squared, I can do that out. Okay, one way to do it would be to write out the bracket twice, and I should be more clear here. K plus 1 squared is the same thing as k plus 1 times k plus 1. So one way of doing that is to write the second bracket out twice, so I've done that here, and then sub the first term of the first bracket in here, or multiply, and the second term of the first bracket in here. Now all I've done here is I've taken the problem and gone left to right and done what needs to be done. So this ends up becoming 0. This gets expanded, and the 25 stays the same. Anyway, keep going. 0 squared is 0, so that's gone. And here, going left to right, k by k is k squared, k by 1 is 1k, 1 by k is 1k, 1 by 1 is 1. That's equal to 25. Now, if you see what's happening here, this is a quadratic. If you see a quadratic, solve it. Okay. So I'm going to do it here. I'm going to tidy it up. K squared. Now, 1 of something plus 1 of something is 2 of something. And the 1 here, I'm going to bring the 25 over to one side. Because with a quadratic, you want everything equal to 0. Now, what happens here is you end up with k squared plus 2k. Now, what 1 minus 25 is the same as minus 24. Now, if I do it over here, just give myself some space. I'm going to have to rewrite this. I could use the quadratic formula, but I don't think I need to, although I'm not 100% sure yet. And look, there's many ways of solving quadratics. I have the way I did it. in schools, and this is the way I still do it. And k is the variable, so I put k in k. It's 1k squared, so it's easier. I'm looking for what number multiplies to give minus 24, okay, but will add to give plus 2. Now, if C is 6 by 4, yeah, actually 6 by 4 did. I suppose you could go like, if it was being real blunt, 24 by 1, so negative 24 by plus 1 would give negative 24. 24 by negative 1 would give negative 24. Minus 12 times 2 would give negative 24. 12 by negative 2 would give negative 24. Now there's a few more. It could be like negative 6 times 4, or 6 times negative 4. So I think they're all the factors, all the numbers that can multiply to give minus 24. And all the whole numbers, all the factors. Now the only ones of them that can add to give plus 2. Okay, this can never do it, neither can this. The 24, no matter what I do with 1, if they're added and subtracted, can never reach 2. 12 and 2 won't work. But 6 and 4 looks promising. Now these two numbers have to add to give plus 2. So minus 6 plus 4 would give minus 2. 6 minus 4 would give plus 2. So there's my 2. So my two factors are k plus 6 and k minus 4 is equal to 0. Now I don't need to do this next thing, okay, but if I wanted to, I could check my answer. And if my factors are correct, if I go ahead and multiply the two factors, then if I get the same answer as I started with, they were right. Now I can do this the fast way. I can do it the way I said, write out the second bracket twice, first term, whatever. That's one way of doing it. A faster way that maybe less is more prone to error is to just multiply the terms. And as long as I make sure that each term multiplies by everything else, I have no problem. So the k by k is k squared, k by minus 4 is minus 4k, 6 by k is 6k, and 6 by minus 4 plus or minus the minus 6 4 is 24. Combine them together, okay, k squared can't change, there's nothing else to add to it. Now, I owe you €4, I pay you back 6, I'm €2 in the black. Now the minus 24 doesn't change because there's nothing to change it. And this is what I started with, so my factors are right. Okay. Now, once I have my factors, okay, I need to go one last step, we're almost there. And that's the idea that if you have two things, let's say A times B, and they give 0, what must one of these values be? Okay, if your answer is 0, one of them must be 0. Because like 1 by 1 would be 1, 2 by 1 is 2, negative 1 by 1 is negative 1. You know, any two actual numbers never give 0 when multiplied, unless one of them is 0. Or maybe both of them are. And we assume that, okay, and I can write my two factors as two separate equations. Now once I've done that, okay, when I solve this, bring the 6 across, I get k is equal to negative 6, or k is equal to bring the negative 4 across and change it to a positive, or k is equal to 4. Now at this stage we're basically done. I just have to remember one fact. Which k value do I choose? Well, my question said that my k was going to be positive because it was in the first quadrant. So this is my k value. Okay, and so k is equal to 4. And that's it. Okay, so in the notes here, I've kind of done that. Maybe not as clear. I have my equation circle. I substitute my 2 points in. I end up causing myself a problem. Okay, but it is the equation of one unknown, so it will be solved. It's just a matter of going ahead and doing it and going through the operations. Then I do all that. Okay, I end up with a quadratic. Probably the best thing is to do it here. Now, once I see a quadratic, okay, I want to solve it. Okay, it's kind of bog standard, leaving cert maths. If you see a quadratic, solve it. I know it's quadratic because the biggest power of the variable is 2. I don't have to have anything else. Okay, it's for it to be quadratic, except it must have a power of 2. Now, once I realize that fact, I go ahead. Well, I can solve it. I use the faster method of factorization. I could use the minus b formula if that was what I preferred. Once I've found the two factors, I put them both equal to 0, simplify them or solve them out, and I end up with two values. One of them is positive, and that's the one we have to use, because in the first quadrant, everything is positive. Now, an awful lot. Big question for 5 marks. But then the last question here, if you remember, This was a lot of work for 5 marks. In this particular question, if we look back at part like A, 1, 2, 3, that's a fairly good chunk of marks. It's fairly handy. If you could get the 15 marks for that and then get attempts for the other 2, you're doing pretty good. Now obviously you want to get full marks, but always take what you can get. Something is better than nothing. So trying something right now, part you were given, even here with this one, if you had written out the radius on this page, they probably would have given you the majority of the marks. In the next one here, if you'd written out the equation of the circle you found in the previous part A, part 4, they'd give you the attempts for sure. Because you're showing that you have at least a relevant step on the path to solving. And that should be the end of question 4. It is. Okay, so best of luck with this question, and if you have any questions, just send me an email at shanetry@gmail.com if you want to set notes I'm working off. If you like these videos, just subscribe to get access to more playlists. Thanks.